Alpha station come back?
Alpha 4, Alpha Tango, QSL.
Okay, got you there, Sean. Yeah, we're a little bit close, I guess, but yeah, we had no chance on 20 meters, and I think I'm live streaming here. If anybody's on the chat, I'll look over there every now and then and check that. Yeah, come back to me. Let me see if I can get you in a little better.
Roger, Roger. Yeah, I just got home from work a little while ago, and figured I saw your message pop up and what's going on, and I figured I'd try and come back to you.
Roger that. Yeah, I'm getting a little bit of my power line noise. Actually, the guy came out and they took care of the power line noise. But what I'm getting is noise from what we believe is my neighbor's. We think my neighbor has some sort of a charger in their garage to charge yard tools. And, the same guy I've shot videos about him, Jeff, he's got that dish. He can pinpoint exactly which bolt, which piece of hardware on a power pole is causing the arcs. And in this case, he was able to pinpoint which side of their garage it's on, but I haven't gone over there yet and discussed it with him. Maybe I'm going to see if they'll allow me to put some chokes on the wires. There, go ahead, Sean.
I hope you get that figured out. Lately, I haven't done much from home. Usually it's been out activating, but recently there's so much rain, we haven't done much of that.
Well, hey, Victor, there in Scotland, and James, thanks. So I am live. Roger that, Sean. Yeah, I was just looking on the chat over there, too. We do have a couple of folks that jumped in. One's in Scotland, so I guess he doesn't hear me other than through the web there. But, yeah, I just got to get over there and talk to them. They're nice folks. He was against ham radio at first. So when he saw me putting up antennas, he and another neighbor gave me a hard time. And, I just had a guy climbing trees, putting pulleys in my trees to hold up dipoles. But they had a hard time with it. But the neighborhood doesn't have a covenant that says I can't do that. And then one time I gave them a call and let them know we had a tornado bearing down on our direction. And they said, how'd you find that out? I said, ham radio. The next time I was out there on a ladder working on a ballon that I had mounted up a tree, one of them called over and said, hey, I'll come hold the ladder for you. So I haven't had any more trouble since that, Sean. AA4AT, this is N4H&H.
Roger, yeah, sometimes you just got to see, I think a lot of people anticipate getting interference, and sometimes it just takes them a while to see that it's not necessarily the case. Alpha 4, Alpha Tango.
Yeah, roger that, Sean. And for those of you watching online, if you're looking at that S meter and it's way down there around 5, that's because I have no preamplifier engaged and I'm using 12 dB of attenuation. I'll show you next over why I'm doing that. And let's see, we have another one, James and Joe. Okay, hey, welcome, guys. So yeah, when Sean comes back, I'm going to undo all of that so you can hear what it would be like without, if I was using a preamplifier, no attenuation. And then I'll also turn off the 2 noise blinkers and the noise reduction so you can get an idea of what that's like. So Sean, come on back and give me one. Tell me a little bit. Tell me about your weather and stuff.
Well, here it's mostly been rain. It seems like every time you turn around, but I think Saturday is supposed to be nice. Hopefully, the wife will get out there and activate a part. It sounded good on this end, about a 5.7, and I got mine set for attenuation.
So he's 15 over 9. Oh, IPO is the way to go on this band. I always use it. Now, this Kenwood doesn't have IPO, so basically I just turn off any preamplifiers. That time you were 15 over 9, because, the S meters are calibrated on 20 meters, at S9, and so with the preamp on, so you were 15 over 9, so that's probably pretty close as S meters go. But yeah, I was running with no preamp and 12 dB of attenuation just to knock that noise floor down in the front end, so the DSP doesn't have to work so hard. And I was letting those I hope you guys on the live chat, let me know if you can hear him okay. All right, back to you, Sean.
Roger. Yeah, I'm just sitting here working the DX10 with Palomar engineers off on a bit.
Okay, there's no help.
Up as high as I could get it.
And are you running power?
I'm running about 100 watts and on the Yaesu linear power supply.
Wow, so yeah, 15 over 9, 100 watts, that's good. And I mean, you're not too far from me. Cherokee County, let's see, 69 air miles is what QRZ thinks it is, so we're kind of close.
Roger, yeah.
Okay, guys, here comes
I think this is the first
no
time
preamp,
radio also.
and I'll work my way back to less noise. Roger that. N4H&H, I guess, throw that out there for ID in case I forgot. Well, I'm running, I guess every now and then I'm peaking 550 here, and I'm using my ZS6 Bravo Kilo Whiskey antenna out there, and so no antenna tuner or antenna matching unit, as I prefer to call them, is being used at this moment. And again, this is the Kenwood TS-890S. So you're enjoying that, Yaesu? 6 dB of attenuation, 12, noise reduction 1, and the 2 noise blankers, just they knock about an S unit of noise out. And what microphone are you using?
I think they called it the M90,
Good mic. Oh yeah. That's the next step up from the M70. Both are great mics. They match up very well with the Yaesu rigs. I've got a friend who he lives by the rule of whatever brand radio you have, that's the brand microphone that you should have. And true enough, they're going to make their microphones favor their radios, and that's a smart thing. I like the hands-free. I'm sitting here now with both hands free because I'm transmitting with my foot. And I'm not using Vox, but just pressing down on a foot pedal, and I'm using the Heil PR781, which is my favorite ham radio mic. I've got a PR40 that the people on the live stream are listening to me on. I have used it with the radio, but the 781 comes out on top, has a little bit of an edge over the PR40 for ham radio purposes, in my opinion, and you know how that goes. Back to you, Sean.
What live stream are you doing?
Roger, yeah. I've loved this setup since I got it, and me and my wife have got, this was our first HF radio, and this is Alpha 4 Alpha Tango, and me and my wife first started getting hooked on hunting photo with HF with this radio, and then it was afterwards we got the 891 used for going out activating. Back to you.
So you do like getting out there and doing some outdoor radio work?
Roger, yeah. Me and my wife try and get out, as long as weather allows, almost every weekend we'll try and go out and activate a park and have some fun, pass the mic back and forth.
Roger that. Oh, somebody jumped in a minute ago. I didn't get a call sign, but let me leave a break here for a second. N4H&H.
Well, I just asked what live streaming you're doing.
Who is this?
Kilo Golf 4 Whiskey, Quebec. I didn't know I had to identify to come in here.
Well, anytime you transmit, you're supposed to ID.
You got 10 minutes to transmit to ID after start transmitting.
Okay, well, then it's 73 to you. All right, back to you, Sean.
Yeah.
Did you hear that?
Right now, I'm trying to work on learning a little Morse code. I've been, me and my wife both joined the Long Island CW Club, and I'm slowly getting letters, but it's going slow.
Well, I applaud you on that. That Long Island CW Club is an excellent organization. One of the guys down here that I Elmered, and he's only been a ham just a few years now, but within the first few months, he went from zero to hero with them. In fact, he played a game on me. He said, I want to learn CW. Can I come over and practice? I said, sure, come over. And I was sending him some practice code, and I got to 18 words a minute before he missed anything, and he wasn't even writing it down. And so I knew he was messing with me. He said, yeah, I've been working with the Long Island CW Club for 4 months. So he was doing really well. Today, he actually teaches for them. He's part of also CW Ops, and he does 40 words a minute. So he way passed me.
Yeah, I'm fairly new into it. I've got about 12 letters down.
Y'all hearing a little bit better now on the live stream?
At work, I'll switch between podcasts and the Morse code Ninja, 20 words a minute. And just kind of repeat it in my ear.
Oh, he faded.
More familiar.
Roger that. Well, yeah, to me, it's a good skill to have. You never know. You know, I don't know if you see those TV shows, people get trapped underground and they use Morse code. I always think, yeah, that's probably a good skill to have. Always good to have a friend, at least, that knows how to do that.
Roger. Plus, I like the idea of eventually maybe having a little QRP radio and getting out activating with that using the Morse code.
Well, that's the thing for me. I hike, mountains with summits on the air, and generally I take a radio that can fit in a shirt pocket and operate off of a 9-volt battery. You only get about 2 watts out of it with the 9-volt, but I've worked Spain from Georgia with a portable end-fed. It rolls up on a handle, and so really, really fun to get out there and do that sort of thing, mixing ham radio with the great outdoors.
Roger. Plus, I'm trying kind of set myself a distant goal, like, Lewis, KU4GZ, we formed a new ham radio club, and my goal I'm kind of setting myself is I'd like to get on and do a field day using CW. Alpha 4, Alpha Tango.
Roger that. I just try to do as much as I can outdoors, but after COVID, we had a lot, believe it or not, during COVID, the state shut down a lot of our I say parks, but the places you would park to hike some of the mountains, the Appalachian Trail and all that. I'm thinking, wow, we're probably better off in the outdoors than we are cooped up inside, But there were areas where you better not be caught parking there and hiking. So that kind of put a damper on things. And then I had some knee problems, and I got out of it for a while, but I made it to Mountain Goat, and you guys who watch my channel a lot know that I like to chase the summits on the air stations. To me, I love to get those guys out in Oregon and Washington State, all the way across, the United States, that are running QRP. I love to get them in the log, and of course, you get points for doing that. So that you get to 1,000 points. With those summits are worth anywhere from 1 to 10 points, depending on the usually has to do with prominence, they call it, but elevation, and and all you got to do, you got to make at least 4 contacts from the mountain to get the points. And when you get to 1,000, you get called a mountain goat, and you can get an award for that, a trophy or a certificate. And well, the same is true of the people chasing the SOTA activators, as they're called. they get to 1,000 points and they can get an award. It's called Shack Sloth. Shack Sloth. So it's all in good fun, Sean. AA4AT and 4H&H. Hey guys, I'm gonna get over here and answer y'all in a minute if you got some questions.
I looked at the SOTA a little bit. There's a couple around here that a bunch activating, and I just haven't delved into it that far yet. Alpha 4 Alpha Tango.
Yeah, well, I have a couple of friends that live in drawing a blank on the name of the town, North Georgia. And it's a husband-wife team, and they go out a lot. Oh, man. Mark and Jean, but I can't think of the call signs right off the top of my head, or their town. It's up near Blairsville in that area, but it's Hiawassee. I think it's Hiawassee.
It is. Mark and Jean is exactly who I was thinking of on that. I was thinking about if I ever do want to maybe tag along with them and kind of get a feel for it. Back to you.
Yeah, Mark and Jean are both double mountain goats. They got into it after I did, so that'll show you how pathetic it was that I got behind. But they're both double mountain goats now, so they've done really, really well, and they are beasts at hiking. There was a mountain I did one day in the rain, and it was 38 degrees. There's a video about it on my YouTube channel. And I thought, wow, boy, that was something. And then next thing I hear, they did it in the dark, in the cold, in the rain. They're amazing.
Yeah, I've got them on 2 meters a few times. And I think if me and my wife ever start off doing a little SOTA, it'll probably be easier ones, maybe drive-upable ones, because my wife don't have the best knees. And I don't think she'd quite be able to take it. Alpha 4 Alpha Tango, back to you.
Roger that. Yeah, and so you should definitely do the drive-ups. I mean, I try to pick them as I can as well. We have a few in Georgia. You know, they're usually not as many points, but some can be. It's our highest peak in Georgia, Brasstown Bald, is worth 10 points. But you've got a little bit of a hike unless you catch it when you can ride that little bus up there to the top. Then it's a total drive up. But you know, I guarantee you, if you connect with Mark and Jean and let them know that you guys want to get out there, and I guarantee you they'll help what we call Elmer you in SOTA. I had a SOTA Elmer, my friend Joel. All right, well, great to catch up with you there, Sean. I appreciate you jumping on the air. I'm going to get over here and answer some questions on the live stream. You take care, and it's an honor to be able to get you in the log here. 73 to you, Alpha 4 Alpha Tango from November 4 Hotel, November Hotel.
Thanks for all the info, and I appreciate the contact. Wish you best of luck. 73 from Alpha 4 Alpha Tango.
Okay, got him in the log there. So guys, let me address what happened, and I will answer your questions. Let me get this PR40 back over here. Yo, watch your ears, because I'm going to be moving this microphone around. Okay, got the PR40 over here where I can see the computer. So you guys heard the guy come in there and didn't ID. And he said, well, I didn't know I had to ID when I first come in. And technically, okay, let me read you what Part 97 says. Amateur radio operators, commonly known as ham operators, are required, well, I'm going to give you a background, are required to identify their transmissions by stating their call sign as mandated by the Federal Communications Commission in the United States under Part 97 of the Code of Federal Regulations, specifically Code 97.119. However, they are not strictly required to identify at the beginning of every transmission. The rules state that operators must identify with their call sign at the end of each communication and at least every 10 minutes during a communication. So, for example, if you're having a conversation on the air, you need to give your call sign when you finish the exchange and at least every 10 minutes if the conversation lasts longer. Okay, well, let me tell you I've been doing this now 43 years. I've always identified at the beginning. I think it's the safest thing to do. Also, too, we are prohibited from talking to someone who does not have a call sign. So I'll tell you why I treated that guy that way. I asked him for his call sign. I wasn't mean to him. Just wanted him to ID. Because I don't want to be talking to somebody who doesn't have a call sign. And I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but we have a lot of people these days that are on the air and causing QR Mary, quarming, some people say, intentionally and not identifying. And there's a lot of that going on. So, and as you can maybe imagine, I collect a little bit of that. Some of you know, well, some of my Patreon members know privately some of the things that I've had happen. So, you know, there's reasons that, yeah, Sean, it is. It's a common courtesy. So there's reasons that I'm a little bit gun shy when it comes to somebody just jumping in and not identifying. So, yeah, by the letter of the law, it's not required, except every 10 minutes during a QSO and at the end of the QSO. It's just a good habit to get in to identify yourself when you first start a QSO, just like Sean and I did. And to me, it says a lot about somebody if they're going to split hairs like that. That's the kind of person who says, I'm going to push the rules. I'm going to get away with everything that I can. And, oh, hello there from Bahrain. See you. Hey, Tom. So yeah, I mean, so my rule of thumb is identify at the beginning, let everybody know who you are. I've got a friend who actually will make you identify so he can check. And sure enough, more often than you would think, he finds people operating down in the extra class portion of the band, and they're a general. So, you know, it's just a good idea to put out a call sign when you first start a QSO. So let's see if we have any questions up here. And let's see, Victor there in Scotland, MM6ECO. Thanks for jumping in there, Victor. And that's a great story. I forget what story that was, James. Oh, was that the one about my neighbors giving me a hard time about my antennas? Yeah, actually, that's happened twice to me. The neighborhood I lived in before I moved here, that neighbor didn't get ugly with me. Actually, what happened there was I asked her for permission to attach one side of my off-center fed dipole to one of her trees because our lots were so small I didn't have room to go all the way across and still be on my property. And she said, oh, yeah, no problem. So I did it. And again, we had a tornado bearing down on us. I called her and I said, Helen, we got a tornado coming, get down into your we didn't have a basement, but we had a lower floor. And I said, get in your bathroom in the middle down there, or whatever you can, the middle room in the bottom floor. And she said, how'd you find that out? I said, my ham radio. She goes, you got any more antennas you need to put up? So, but over here, yeah, they came over and antagonized me about having this guy climb in my trees to put up pulleys so I could erect my antennas. Let's see. So it sounds better now. Yeah, I actually was using the PR40. I just had it over there near that Kenwood speaker for the TS-890S. Let's see. I can only hear you 5.9 at 100% volume. Yeah, I hope by turning up the mic gain that helped out a little bit. Trying to pick up the radio over there on the other desk. You guys know the radio's there, and you're looking at it through the what I call radio cam. The screensaver came on. I call it Kenwood's Hall of Fame. There was the TS-820, TS-830. That's the screensaver on the TS-890. That's what it looks like. Let's see, get down here to some, okay, John B. Do you prefer the sound of the Kenwood over the Yaesu transceivers? It seems like the Yaesu transceivers do have the best built-in DNR today. Yeah, there's no doubt about that, John. I mean, it's just the way it is. I think with any digital noise reduction, your ear will eventually become accustomed to it. So I've had this Kenwood up here now for 3 months or so, shooting the tutorial series for it, and which is available to the S9 members of my Patreon support team. Without them, these videos wouldn't exist. They provide 98% of the funding to keep me going. Yeah, only 2% from YouTube ads. It's terrible. You just don't get much from YouTube, especially in a niche thing like this. But yeah, the Kenwood has 2 different noise reducers. They're digital. I was using noise reducer 1, and you can long press it, the Kenwood's, and this is all going to be unfolding in the video series as I'm releasing them. A lot of long presses do things. You know, a lot of the radios these days, you know, menu driven, you long press. Now, this radio has plenty of knobs. Ergonomically, it's fantastic. The only radio that I believe would match it ergonomically is my FTDX 5000, which is still my favorite radio. And the DNR in that radio holds up against any of the radios out today. In fact, it was the first DNR I ever heard that didn't sound like you were listening underwater. You know, but the Kenwood has, you know, so you guys with the Yaesus, you know, you've got 1 to 15 on your DNR, and it's going to get really dull when you get up there. You know, if you're using 15 for sideband. Now, you know, for CW, 15 is actually fine. I use it a lot. It helps tamp down that ringing sound you get from your tight filters. But those, you know, when you tighten up your digital filter to block out some of the interference and to noise, that you'll hear that ringing sound, which is at the same pitch as that you've got your CW pitch set to. So the DNR will help with that. Of course, you know, many of you who are regulars to my channel know about the notch trick. But oh, hey, David. Pocono, Northern Pocono Mountains. Wow. David is one of the long haulers that's responsible for these videos still being around after 5 years. I call them long haulers. They get in there and really help with the expenses of doing this. And so, and they get additional perks. But yeah, so the noise reduction on the Yaesu, consider like 1 as the least aggressive and 15 is the most aggressive. And, you know, my rule of thumb for sideband is somewhere in the 3 to 5 range. Although you could argue that just 1 makes a huge difference. It really does. If you haven't tried that, just try DNR off and then try DNR at 1. But I generally run 3 to 5. And on CW, I'll run 10, 12, but a lot of 15. So now on the Kenwood, it's different. They have an NR1 and NR2. And NR1, you can long press the NR1 button, and then you can incrementally adjust the aggressiveness of it. I'm running it 3 hash marks from the left. That's what you were hearing a while ago. Again, you get too far over to the right, and it gets digital artifacts in there. You know, it gets kind of nasty. Almost sounds like you're listening underwater. NR2 is more aggressive, and it's also got its own scale for adjusting. I would say, you know, and the manual even says NR2 is most appropriate for CW. That's true, but if you run it too far up, too aggressive, in other words, if you turn it up too high, on CW it puts clicks at the beginning of everybody's dits and dahs. So in that case, I found that about a third of the way up seems to be okay for CW, and it is a good noise reduction to use for CW. Now, that said, since we're John, you didn't know it was going to be a big discussion about DNR, but you know, I've gotten so accustomed to good DNR that I never turn it off on the Yaesu rigs, especially. So I use NR2, and those of you who are members of the Patreon team and are S9 level, you probably saw the video I put out about the digital noise reduction on the Kenwood. And I think I mentioned in there, to me, there is a good use for the NR2 even on sideband. And here's what I'm getting at. Sorry, I knocked the camera over. Trying to turn that radio down a little bit. Okay, and for those of you who are wondering, let me train the camera there. There you'll see NR. I'll turn the volume up. Now these are the noise blankers. There's two separate ones. They're also incrementally adjustable. But this NR, that's NR1. That's NR2. Now you notice the noise went away, but listen. So you see what I mean about that underwater sound? Okay, so you'll hear people, even Kenwood owners, they'll say, man, great radio, but, and this is the thing that people complain about. I think the radio's been out long enough that if Kenwood was not proud of that, they would probably have done some changes to it as long as the hardware is capable. And I say that because it depends on the choice of DSP that a manufacturer puts in a radio. For example, Yaesu usually uses Texas Instruments, ICOM as well. This Kenwood has Analog Devices. But Yaesu has a radio, the FT710, that has an NXP semiconductors chip in it. And then the newest unit, the FTDX10, I haven't seen the schematic yet, but I think it possibly has the NXP chip. I don't know, but just judging by how it sounds, I have a feeling that it might have the NXP chip, but I could be wrong. I'm waiting on to see a schematic, so I'll know for sure. But let me tell you what I think is the saving grace of NR2 for sideband. As long as you're willing to accept the degradation in audio quality, and I'll throw out the word fidelity, use NR2. Now, and I'll give you an example. I think I got it on film on one of the videos for the TS-890 series, where there were two stations talking. One was fairly strong. The other one was down in the weeds. And with NR1, the least aggressive of the two noise reductions, by the way, with neither of them, I couldn't hardly make out a word. With NR1, I could hear a good bit of what he was saying, but not all. With NR2, I could hear every word he was saying, but, of course, the audio got dulled, got a little bit of that watery sounding digital artifact in there. But it comes down to this. Can I pull him out? I'm not going to say, well, I've got to have the radio sound incredible when it's doing digital noise reduction. No, I'm just using digital noise reduction in that case so I can get maybe my signal report. I can hear the guys that maybe I missed a letter of his call sign, things like that. So I think the NR2 in the Kenwood can be applicable to sideband as long as you know going into it that, hey, I'm not looking for fidelity here. I'm looking for the guy's call sign. I'm looking for my signal report. And in that case, I wouldn't be afraid to use it on sideband. But I generally leave it on the NR1. And I have it set 3 hash marks from the left. That's not so aggressive that it starts sounding digital. And it knocked down a little bit of the noise. Now, will it compete with a Yaesu? Absolutely not. No. Just that's the way it is. But again, back to ergonomics. This TS-890S is a fabulous radio to operate. It is fun. Those of you who are familiar with band stack registers, the Kenwood has 5. You have to turn that on. It's normally 3, but you can engage it in the menu to where you get 5. Ergonomically, fantastic radio to operate. Let me show you something. See where my finger's pointing? ALC meter, SWR meter. Now, by the way, I like this meter here on the white background setting, but that was washing out the camera, so I changed it over to the dark. And you can also force it to just be a bar meter. So with this meter engaged, I'm seeing SWR and ALC while I'm talking, and then the other meter becomes power out. Now, you wouldn't have seen it wiggling much, because if you look there in the top center, I was only running 15 watts to drive the amplifier. And I was putting out, I think, 550, 500, somewhere along in there. Yeah, so that is a really cool thing to me. Just and you got options in how you want that color background there. It can be black, it can be blue, it can be green. I've got a setting right now. If you look real close at the going down the sides, it looks like there's a light bulb turned on right there. I just thought it looked cool. That's an option. It doesn't come out of the box that way. It's all set in the menu, and I'm covering that as part of my Kenwood TS-890S tutorial series for the S9 VIP Patreon members. So yeah, fun radio to operate. Ergonomically fantastic. Every knob, every button, I'll say 95% of them are located where I think they should be. There are a few things that bother me. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to put my amp on standby. There we go. As a matter of fact, last night I filmed a video about one of the things that bothers me. The manual's not the greatest. It's good in places, but it's not the greatest. One of the things that bothers me is, how do you get in there to record your outgoing messages? You can record 6 for voice. Got a video. Like I said, I shot the footage last night. Have to get it edited. Got a lot of videos to edit. Getting in there to, load your up to 10 CW, 8 CW outgoing messages. Well, they left out a very important part in the manual, how you get to the screen where you do that. So I've covered that in a video. Once you find that screen, then you can do it, and it's easy, absolutely phenomenally easy to do. Like record your voice, so you can just press a button and it says your call sign. So like on a contest or field day, things like that. And the same with CW. I've got a video coming that shows how I use this keyboard, as a matter of fact. The F1 through F8 keys to send my call sign, and I'll send a 519, a 539, a 559, a 579, a 599, and a 73, and a dit. I've got all that programmed, so I don't even actually touch the key if I'm usually using that for chasing SOTA or DX. So just getting to the part of the menu where you record that, the manual does not tell you where to go. But once you know once you're there, then the rest of the manual is correct. Let's see some more questions here. So would you say the sound quality of SSB and AM is better on the Yaesu 5000? And oh yeah, no doubt. I'm sorry, Kenwood. You guys that support my channel, you know how I am. I have no horse in this race. I just call it like I see it. Again, fantastic radio, that 890. And if you're I've said this before, you can't pick a radio or not pick a radio based on one or two things. Think about what you're going to do with the radio, what you're most likely to use it for. So if you're the kind of person who says, I don't like digital noise reduction any way, shape, or form, you'll love the Kenwood TS-890S. Just don't mess with the digital noise reduction. And because it is a fantastic radio to operate. Ergonomically, I love it. Hey, Pascal. He's also been a participant, viewer of my YouTube channel since, I think just shortly after I began. So no, I got to be honest with you guys. The 5000 is still my favorite radio that was ever made. Ergonomically, it and the Kenwood are a close match. I can operate that 5000 in the dark, and I've gotten to the point where I can do the same with the 890. Let's see. What do you think of the FT710 DNR with the most recent firmware? Well, I got to tell you what happened there. I shouldn't be putting this out in a public video, though. I've told the Patreon members that latest update to the FT710. So the FT710 was not usable practically above algorithm 3. So you got 1 through 15. Algorithm 3 was fine, but algorithm 3 was about the same as algorithm 1 with the FTDX10. And by the way, early on, in the fall of 2022, when the FT710 hit the street, I gave the Patreon team members all a heads up about this, what I'm telling you now. But they knew this in the fall of 2022, because I do articles for them that, not even always a video, but sometimes they're a video privately for them, and sometimes it's an article. And they knew this. Algorithm 3 was about the equivalent of algorithm 1 on an FTDX10. Algorithm 4 it got to where, it sounded like this Kenwood did a while ago with the noise reduction 2 turned on. that underwatery, gargly sort of gnarly digital artifacts is what it is. Well, so Yaesu, and I got this straight from a Yaesu guy. The way they made the FT710 DNR better was 7 is the new 3. Do y'all understand what I mean when I say it that way? So they gave more incremental adjustment between 1 and 3. It became 1 and 7. So at 8 on an FT710, you start getting the digital artifacts. Now, again, hey, Jonathan, another VIP plus Patreon team member. And, oh, yeah, David earlier, he's a VIP plus, S9 plus, I call him. These are guys, by the way, literally, these are the guys who make it happen. Without their support, this ceases. No, I'm not kidding you. So, yeah, you know, the digital noise reduction, yeah, still best in the Yaesus. And even the 5000. Now, granted, you got to understand, the 5000 was a 2009 design, but it went through a lot of updates. The version I bought in 2019 has the latest firmware in it. It shipped with it. They didn't put out any more updates. And that digital noise reduction in that radio was the best I'd ever seen. And in fact, I was debating getting a 101 MP. I wrote all about this over on Patreon, so I'll let you, those of you who are Patreon members, you can go read the whole article if you haven't, about why I chose the 5000 over the 101 MP. That was not the only reason, but DNR was one of them. Now, they did come out with an update in August 1st of 2023 that put the DNR of the 101 and the FTDX10 on par with the 5000. And I say on par because, I mean, you would probably have to have test equipment to see if there's a difference between the quality of the digital noise reduction in the 5000, the 10, and the 101. Where the 101, and especially the 10, would be where I would critique them is ergonomics. Now, you got more things available via knobs and buttons on the 101, of course, because it's a bigger radio. The FTDX10, you know, got some things that are kind of tight together in there, trying to get to your band knob, you know, sandwiched in between the outer VFO dial and the function knob. Ergonomically, not great, but you know what? I got used to it. That's another radio I can operate in the dark. I think you just grow accustomed to things after you use them a while. So, yeah, I'm not going to complain. But, yeah, ergonomically, the 101 is better than the 10. Not as good as this 890S. Not as good as my FTDX 5000. So there you go. The 9000, yeah, the 9000, Jonathan, that was one that was definitely not a very good layout ergonomically. They made big improvements when they went from the 9000 to the 5000. The other thing is the 9000's up conversion. Do you guys understand the difference between down conversion and up conversion? Somebody post there if not, I'll explain it. But up conversion's not as good as down conversion, the way I look at it. And the 9000 is up conversion. As a matter of fact, the 5000 was the very first Yaesu radio to go back to down conversion. Now, what do I mean back to? Well, in the early days, the first IF, first intermediate frequency, was usually down around 8 to 10 megahertz. Now, that meant that you couldn't listen to shortwave stations at 8 to 10 megahertz, okay? Whatever your first IF was, that would be blocked out. But, I mean, to me, my view is if you want to do shortwave, get a shortwave listening radio. The fifth best radio in the world, or fourth or fifth, right now on Sherwood's list for receive is a, I want to say R8600, an ICOM shortwave listening radio. I mean, here's the deal. If you want to do shortwave listening, do that. But a lot of people come from shortwave listening over to ham radio. Well, anyway, so I'll just tell you that it was more expensive to make those Port Clinton Duck, let's see, 5,000 is a great radio. Yeah, oh, yeah, I know. Yes, exactly right. What you're saying there. Can't tell the difference. No. 5,000. I put the, you guys have seen the videos where I put the 5,000 up against the 10, the 991A against the 10, the 5,000, the 891, all this mix match, which gets me in trouble with Yaesu, by the way. But yeah, I've put the 5,000 in the, because normally I have the 5,000 and the 10 sitting up here. I've put them up against one another many times, and they're neck to neck. And let's see, I may have gotten off track. Oh yeah, up conversion. So in the late 70s, manufacturers switched to up conversion. So in case you don't know what that means, is we're no longer down in the ham HF spectrum for our first intermediate frequency. They move it out. They move it up to 40 and even above. Like, for example, the FT891, FT991A, I believe, too, FT450, they're all up near 70 megahertz. So they're up out of the HF spectrum. Well, is that a bad thing? Well, here's the advantage, and this is what clever marketing does. You can now listen to shortwave listening with your ham radio. Yeah, well, the problem is roofing filters for those frequencies are A, very expensive, and B, not as effective as roofing filters that you can buy for 8 to 10 megahertz. Now, 9 megahertz is where Yaesu has settled for their FTDX101 and FTDX10. And I say 9 megahertz is 9 megahertz roughly because, for example, you got simultaneous dual receive in the 101, so they're incrementally a little bit off from one another as they need to be. But it's basically 9 megahertz. So the down conversion gives you better roofing filters. So, for example, you look at the 101 comes with a 600, or the 101D, comes with down to a 600 600 hertz roofing filter for, you'd use that for CW. And then the 101 MP comes with a 300 in VFO-A, and you can add a 300 for B. You just, you can buy what they call a max model that some of the dealers sell, where they just outfit them complete with all the filters, which I would recommend doing. You guys on Patreon, you know that I've written all about how I recommend the D Max, because the D Max can operate off of 12 volts in case I had a power outage, and it has all the filters in it. And you can buy a 101D maxed out, meaning it's going to have 300 hertz filters, 2 1.2K filters, and both VFOs have the variable pre-selector, which is called VC Tune. And so for about the price of a 101 MP, which would give you 200 watts, you can have all the possible filters and a radio that can run on 12 volts. Now, that said, if you got a generator and you don't care, okay, fine, get an MP and max it out. But if you're trying to be budget conscious, the D maxed out will give you better receive, and then you can always run it on 12 volts. And if you run an amplifier, the D's plenty. So there you go. That's the deal. Down conversion, first radio coming with Yaesu to come back to down conversion was the 5,000. The 9,000 is up conversion. And so the roofing filters are not quite as effective as they are with the 5,000. Let's see, are there any outboard processors or speakers that do DNR better than the DNR built into today's transceivers? Yeah, that's a real good question, John. I haven't run across one. Now, if you've watched my video, there's a video I have out there, a couple of videos. I think they're in the FT, well, one of them's in the FT890. I said FT, yes, Fox Tango 890 AT playlist on my YouTube channel, where I actually hook up the very first DSP I ever bought. It was a Timewave DSP 59 Plus. Very, very effective DSP, especially for that time period. And yeah, Jonathan, you got the D-Max and the Elecraft 500. There you go. Great combo. Great combo. That Timewave, now, there's two different schools of thought on DNR. There's DSP. IF DSP and AF, audio frequency. That back then, since it's not built into the radio, the time wave device was audio DSP. So basically, you plugged it into the external speaker jack of your radio, and then you plugged an external speaker into the output of the time wave device. And if I had it in here, I'd show it to you. But you guys go look up that video in my FT890AT playlist. The audio frequency noise reduction on that was not bad. You had a high frequency boost and cut, low frequency boost and cut, and it had noise reduction. Okay. It had the digital artifacts. Okay. I would say it was kind of like this Kenwood's NR2, but it did help. Again, it's one of those things where I'm not trying to make somebody sound like $1 million. I'm trying to hear their call sign in my signal report. So it was effective in that sense. Best auto notch I've ever worked with. The absolute best. Time Wave DSP 59 Plus. I wish it was still available just for that, because that auto notch beats any auto notch in any of the IF DSP that I've encountered. In fact, you'd look up at your needle and go, why is my needle at 20/9 and I'm, and I don't hear anything? Somebody was tuning. It locked onto them that quick. It was just phenomenal, the auto notch in that DSP 59 Plus. But no, as far as digital noise reduction, the best I'd ever encountered was the 5000, which sold that radio to me, to be honest with you. Well, that and Ergonomics. And the quiet receiver. I had walked into the store. I'll give you, little quick little tease here from the article I wrote for the Patreons. I walked in there to buy a different radio. I tuned that radio. I won't tell you here what it was, but I tuned that radio to a CW signal. Ham radio outlet here in Atlanta is in a very noisy industrial area, and there was an S6 noise level. So I found an S7 CW signal, did all the fancy filtering with that radio, even narrowed it down to 50 hertz width, and got him sounding great. Had no intention of even looking at it yet, another Yaesu. But the 5000 was on the opposite end of the bench, and I went down there and reconfigured the switches so I could operate it. I put it on the same frequency, didn't hear a thing. There was like a S, maybe 2 noise level dancing around that range. And I thought, well, somebody has turned on IPO, and no, it wasn't on. Somebody has an attenuator turned on, because, people come in the store, play with these radios. And I thought, well, maybe there's an attenuator on. No, there wasn't. I said, well, this radio just can't hear. About that time, the guy started sending CW again, and he was S7. He was S7 on both radios, but an S6 noise level on the other radio, the first radio, and about an S2-ish on the Yaesu FTDX1000. Now, later I learned, I got the schematic, looked at all the details, and there's a reason for that, and that the components they use in the front end of that 5000 are the best that money could buy at the time, and perhaps maybe even now, because a lot of that fed into the front end of the 101 and the 10. Let's see. So I saw someone recently mention software that uses AI to, yes, there is some software out there, and I tinkered with it. I didn't find it to be, it was effective at stopping the noise, but I could tell it just sounded digital. I'm still more comfortable. I'm so comfortable with the FTDX10 and the 5000 DNR that I just leave it on all the time, at least 3. My ears have grown. In fact, when I turn the DNR off now, you're going to say I'm spoiled. When I turn the DNR off on those radios, it irritates me. You guys familiar with the term ear fatigue? I've grown so accustomed to good digital noise reduction that I get ear fatigue with it when I don't run it. So that's just how good it is. Now, that said, you're going to hear people that say, well, I hear an echo when I run digital noise reduction. Yeah, you will. That's just how good that digital noise reduction is. It can strip so much noise out that you're just hearing a little bit of some leftover, if you will, echo from AGC. So yeah, I don't mind. Actually, though, what you need to do is, like I teach all the time, get the noise down in the front end. Like I did here, I was running no preamp. Now, this radio doesn't have intercept point optimization, and there is a difference, by the way. This just has no preamp. I ran no preamp and 12 dB of attenuation. In other words, I wanted to take that noise down as much as I could in the front end, give the DSP less to have to filter, and it will do a better job without sounding so much digital. Yeah, in case you're wondering, why did I say it that way? Intercept point optimization is different than no preamp. It is. Intercept point optimization is a slight bit of amplification, but not enough to degrade the signal-to-noise ratio. Again, those of you who are regular viewers, y'all have heard me say that or write it. That's, the way Yaesu does it. And, with a roofing filter, there's going to be something called insertion loss. It's minimal, probably 5-6 dB-ish. Well, that's about like turning on your first attenuator. Well, okay, then why not don't turn on an attenuator and just go to IPO? And the IPO is going to give you just enough amplification to work, to maybe like offset the insertion loss, but not degrade the signal to noise ratio. So it's a really incredibly genius thing that Yaesu came up with, that IPO. Now, those of you who have a 5000, you have IPO 1 and IPO 2. IPO 1 is your version of IPO in an FTDX10 or an FTDX101. The IPO 2 in the 5000 is literally no amplification at all. The raw signal goes straight into the roofing filter. So I would now, when would I do that? I'll just tell you right now, I use IPO a good bit on 80 and 160. Always use intercept point optimization before you resort to using an attenuator. If I see a preamp on and an attenuator on, I'll go, no. Preamp off. Now, do you still need to knock some noise down? Remember, we're trying to get to zero noise, or as close to as we can. First thing you do is IPO. Then turn on an attenuator if you still haven't gotten down to near zero with your noise floor. You do all of that, then any DNR is going to do a better job. It doesn't matter whose DNR, it'll do a better job. All right, let's see. Do we have any other questions? I think I've gotten through them all. If anybody has a question, throw it out there. And I hope I made sense with you about the up conversion, down conversion. And just in case you're curious, so the TS-890S is down conversion. It's using 8 megahertz and some change for the first IF. It has a 2.7K roofing filter where Yaesu puts in a 3. And instead of a 300 hertz roofing filter for CW, it has a 270. Now, you have to buy that extra, just like with Yaesu. You have to pay extra for that 300 with the Yaesus, and you pay extra for the 270. I bought this radio with all options. It costs a lot of money, most I've ever spent on a radio, because one day when I sell it, I want to be able to offer somebody because a lot of times the companies will do away with the accessories before they even quit making the radio. So I bought the microphone. Yes, with Kenwood, they charge extra for the mic. I think it was $80. I bought the 270 hertz filter. I bought the speaker. Whatever. I bought every option, so that when I sell it one day, whoever buys it will not have to worry about, does it have every option? It will have every option that's available for it. So you have a 270 versus a 300 on CW, and a little bit of heavy lifting that does in the front end of the receiver. Anything else? Anybody else got a question? If not, I'll close it out. But yeah, look at that. I like that screensaver. You can change it to whatever you want, but the default is it shows what I call the Hall of Fame for Kenwood. Like I said at the beginning, I think the 890S is such a fun radio to operate. Ergonomically, just incredible. If you guys saw my antenna tuner video, the antenna tuner is super fast. And let me change the camera a little bit there. Right here, super fast. I mean, it'll way outrun a Yaesu on finding a match. And it is just like in the Yaesus, these modern rigs, any of the modern rigs these days. It's a touch-up tuner. It can make a 3-to-1 look great. but I wouldn't use that with something like a doublet or any type of an antenna that's, you know, say a 4 or 5 to 1 or more. Yeah, that's not going to be able to match it. And but it's fast. And like I said, I talked about the ergonomics. Before I go, I'll show you that. The knob arrangement, the button arrangement, it's just fantastic. Let me see if I can get all of it in there. So like I said, band stacking, I'm tapping the 7 megahertz button. Let me get to where you can see the screen. There. Okay, so I've got a CW frequency in the first band stack. You see band, it says band 1 right there. Band 1 right below the 000. And then, and how do you program those? If I change this to 7062, the next time I come here, it'll be 7062. That's all you really do. So let me do, that's another popular SOTA frequency. All right, so I tap it again. Yeah, FT8, ready to go. All I got to do is turn on WSJTX, it's ready to go. FT8 was easy to configure on this radio too, by the way. I've got a video coming showing me operating FT8 with it. Okay, then my next one, I've got 7150. Listen there a good bit. 7178, that just happened to be where I was in that last QSO. And then 7278, I was listening to somebody up there earlier. I normally leave that trained on 7268, especially this time of year because the Hurricane Watch net operates there. So then, and then it starts over again. And see, it came back to 7062. And I guarantee you this top one's going to come back to 7268. So that's how that our ergonomics works. If you've got an FTDX10, you're used to pressing band function or band and press the same band button again, you know, when it pops up on the screen. I like being able to do it that way. And you saw there were 5 band stack registers. Now over here with the knobs, yeah, I mean, it's just so ergonomically pleasing. There's your, now out of the box, that is highs and that is lows. So, you know, but I prefer the way Yaesu does it, and they allow you to go into the menu and make that your width and that your shift. Yeah, and I'm just used to doing it that way. Bottom right, where everybody loves it, AF gain, volume, RF gain right there, that ring. And I was using RF gain. I got the S meter, it's at almost S4. And then above here, this is your manual notch adjustment. There's your squelch. Squelch is a knob. You don't have to make a choice in the menu. That's true of the 5000 as well. It's got a separate squelch knob. I like that. Now, by the way, one thing about the FTX1 that they've done that I think is cool is, hey, Sean, they've gone back to what the 891 has. I always thought it was missing from the 10, you know, in the 710. When you go to FM or AM, it automatically switches your RF gain over to be a squelch. How about that? So cool. But with this one, you've already got a separate squelch. And like I said, that's the manual notch. You engage the notch with this button here. BC, beat canceller, there's 2 levels of that. That is your auto notch. So it's all nice, and man, the ergonomics is fantastic. Your multi-knob, like if I want to go into the menu, when I tap menu, the multi-knob, you got a little light here that lights up to let you know that the multi-knob is now active, and I can use it to scroll up and down. Now there's some arrows over there too. You don't touch the screen, you touch the keys below the arrows here. You can scroll up that way, or you can use the multi-knob. And I'll escape out of that. And good feeling VFO. And then down here is your receive incremental tuning and transmit incremental tuning, which is Kenwood's version of clarifier. Okay, so with a Yaesu, you call it a clarifier. Receive, transmit, and then clear just zeroes it back out. Just very well laid out. Now up here, that outer ring there, that's your power output. And then the middle one is mic gain. If you're on sideband, it's or CW pitch. If you're doing CW, same knob doing double duty depending on what mode you're in. And then this one is your delay for CW, and then this is your CW speed. Just really, and then a few option buttons here, your memory switching back and forth. ergonomically fantastic. Down here is where you change modes, and it assumes if you're on 7 megahertz and you tap LSB USB, it'll go to LSB. It'll assume that's what you want. That'll be, now if you really want USB, tap it again. So fantastic rig ergonomically. Let's see, we got thank you very much for your insights. I'd love to have a quick QSO with you, but it'll be a short trip. I'm just over here in Canton. Yeah, we could work on 40 meters. We would have a chance. Let's see. Oh yeah, somebody answering. Sean, how would you compare the contrast the DX10 and FT710? Well, I did that on Patreon. I wrote a whole thing about that in the series on the 710. I put it up against the DX10. So watch those videos and you'll get, yes, lukewarm. Yeah. Look, I mean, the 710's gone through some updates and they helped it. It's still a fantastic radio. And right now it's the best pure SDR there is. There's, when Sherwood tested it, it's, one level below the FTDX10 on DR3 performance. So, in other words, probably arguably the most important measure of a receiver, the ability to block interference from 2 kilohertz away. But no, not going to beat the 10. Great radio for portable ops, though, easier, small package, less expensive. But let's see. Oh, yeah, I was going to mention another thing. I think I'm going to show this in one of the Kenwood videos, but I'll give it to you guys free now. Just like the ICOMs, you can unplug the antenna and you still get a hiss from the speaker of a Kenwood or an ICOM. Even with digital noise reduction turned on. Now with a Yaesu, you get a little hiss if you turn the volume up enough, but you turn on digital noise reduction, it's gone. So I attribute that to the quality of the audio amplifier that they're using in the radio. And it kind of irritates me that I've done all this work in the front end of the receiver to knock noise down. I've used the DSP, and right there before the speaker, the audio amplifier puts out a little hiss. Now, those of you who work in the audio world like I do know that there's always an inherent hiss in a speaker if you get close enough to it and the volume's up. In the audio world, we use something called a gate to knock that down. In other words, if there's no music playing, nothing being spoken, then the gate actually turns it off so you don't hear that. But with the Yaesus, especially even if digital noise reduction's on level 1 or algorithm 1, you're not going to hear. You'd have to turn the volume up all the way to really hear any appreciable hiss. So it just kind of bugs me that at the very last thing before the speaker, you're going to get some noise, even when you got the antenna unplugged. Let's see. Oh, hey, John. John's another long hauler. Given the FTDX 5000 MP is no longer available, which flagship transceiver would you suggest for an Englishman with money burning a hole in his pocket? Well, right now, I mean, it'd have to be the 101. I would get the D Max, unless you're pretty sure that you'll never have a power outage, because the D can run on 12 volts. Oh yeah, let me loop back a minute to the up conversion. I was going to mention. So Yaesu's down conversion radios are the 5000, the 10, and the 101. Okay, the FTX1 is built on the back of the FT710, so it's a pure SDR on the HF side. With Kenwood, you've got the 890 here is a hybrid. They call that a hybrid, where it has a down conversion front end. And even on the 990S, if you read the fine print, certain bands are down conversion on it. With ICOM, they've kind of they hang their hat on the pure SDR, except for their top of the line flagship 7851. That one is up conversion. Again, up out of the HF spectrum. The first IF is up around 70-ish megahertz. So that radio cost a lot for, and give you a reason. The tightest filter they put in it is a 1.2K. So if you're doing CW, you're going to have a 1.2K filter, and then you got to do the rest with digital. Now, the digital's good. But again, the problem there is hard to get really good high quality filters in that 70 megahertz range that don't cost an arm and a leg. So they just bit it off and figured the ham who says, well, I want it all and money is no object. That's what they did. But you won't have you won't have anything tighter than a 1.2K crystal filter in the front end to do the heavy lifting before going digital. Therefore, you're going to have to deal with interference and noise essentially in the back end of the receiver at the DSP stage. So yeah, John, right now, I mean, I've had a couple of Patreon members that bought the 7760. You guys may have seen the video where I sat down in front of one. It's only a little bit better than a 7610. But it does, they claim you can do 200 watts, lock it down, 200 watts of FT8 with it. It is a 200 watt radio and it's got a remote head capability. But other than that, it's like an upgrade of the 7610. As a matter of fact, it ranks one level above the 7610 on Sherwood's list. They're all down in that 23, 22 range. As a matter of fact, I think the three are maybe right together. The 7760 above the 7610, which is above the 7300. So now, look, if somebody says to me, look, all I do is come home and rag chew, then 7300 is all the radio you need. But if you're going to get out there and do some contesting, or if you're a prepper and you think, well, I want my radio to save my life someday, and I know the bands are going to be crowded if we're in a bad situation and I'm a prepper, then you're going to want that radio that can filter down to just what you want to hear and block out everything else. And right now, the best thing we have out there doing that are radios like the FTDX101, the FTDX10, the FT710. And like I said, I'll put my 5000 up against just anything. When Sherwood tested the 5000 back in 2010, he had an FTDX 5000D. And even then it hit 101 dB for the DR3 rating. Now the 101 hits 110, and the FTDX10's 107. The FT710's 107. The reason it's one level below the DX10 is because the DX10 does a little better job when the interference is from further away than 2 kilohertz. But they're about equal as far as when the interference is 2K away. Let's see. Do you think pure SDR direct conversion will become superior receiver soon? I've wondered that. No, I don't think based on what there's out there right now, fidelity wise, no. But I keep thinking that sooner or later, somebody will get a pure SDR to beat a hybrid. The 710 does rank slightly higher than now the Elecraft K3S. So that's a hybrid, and the 710's a pure SDR. So it did beat that hybrid, but it's not been able to beat the 10 and the 101. But when I saw that, I thought to myself, Yaesu might be able to crack this nut. They might reach the point where they can do a pure SDR that'll even beat all hybrids, including their own. I don't know. There's a point where you go, yeah. I mean, I had the former manager of HRO here in Atlanta when I spent that 8 months in there trying out all the radios to decide. Remember, guys, I'm very conservative. I bought an HF rig in 1991. I'd been a ham for 9 years. Bought my first HF rig in 1991, bought my second one in 1999, and then I bought the 5000 in 2019. So I was very, very discriminating about what I was going to buy. So I spent about 8 months down there going into the store every 2 or 3 weeks for 3 hours at a time. So Mark, the former manager, came out. He said, Doug, they've done all they can do to these radios. Just pick one. So I don't know. We may reach a point where that's all they can do. in the construction of the FTDX10, the 710 could be used in the creation of a truly modern flagship. Well, yeah, I mean, in a sense, the 101 it is kind of funny though. The 101 started that whole hybrid deal, and then they came out with the DX10, and the FT710 they even went away from being hybrid. But the 10's got receive EQ, treble, mids, bass. You don't have that on the 101. I don't know why. They both use the same DSP chip. I've written about that. You guys on Patreon know that. It would seem to just, put out a firmware update and add that capability to the 101. I don't know why they did not do it. And why is that important? I've literally had several people who are struggling with hearing. In fact, a couple of them. I had more than one tell me this. I was about to give up on ham radio until I saw your video about the FTDX10. And one of the very first videos in that, there's 102 in the tutorial series right now, and 103 is queued up. But one of the very first videos, I show how to use that 3-band receive EQ. And I've had two different people say that kept them from getting out of ham radio because they had some hearing loss. And so they were able to tailor that receive audio perfectly for their ears. You can't do it with a 101. I don't know why Yaesu has not put that feature in the 101. The other thing, when the FTDX10 came out in around December of 2020, it had DNR that was, let me say, I didn't get mine until March of 2021. And it was the first time I said, oh, wow, this DNR is on par with my 5000. The 101 was not. The 101's DNR acted like an 891 or a 991A. You'd have to go to algorithm 9 to get rid of that digital artifact sound. And I thought, man, why would they do that with their flagship radio? So finally, August 1st, 2023, the 101 got a firmware update that improved its DNR to be as good as the DX10. Matter of fact, both of them got a little nip and a tuck. And so their digital noise reduction is really, really good now. Craig, let's see. Well, I enjoy all the. Well, I'm glad to hear that, Craig. I appreciate that. Some of the guys on here are Patreon members, so they will appreciate knowing that too, because they are they're responsible for. You might be too. Your name rings a bell. But yeah, the Patreon members are responsible for me still being on the air. I was going to give this up in 2021 until I found out about Patreon. Like I told y'all earlier, you can't really do this from YouTube. Let's see. Played with the 101 at Martin Lynch and Sons. There's some things I don't like. The display's not sharp enough. The controls are not laid out ergonomically very well. Yeah, I mean, John, it's one of those things like with the 10, you just got to, ergonomically, you got to get used to it. When I was shooting my 101 MP series with that radio that my friend Joel loaned me, which, by the way, is still here. It's in the box ready for him to come pick it up. I got used to it, but I got used to the 10. And in fact, I'm still running the original firmware for my 10. Because I like that I can double tap the band button to cycle through the band stacks. They took that away after version 0104. And I've not had any issues with my 10. And my rule of thumb is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I never updated that firmware in my 10, and it's been flawless. And I got used to it. So one of the complaints about the 10 was, the pop-ups go away too quick. I even got used to that because I know what to expect now, I know what's going to pop up, and I know where to press and press it quick. So... yeah, I think you just get used to it. It's just like my ears are getting used to NR1 on this 890S over here. Now, by the way, you guys know the 890S is not a simultaneous dual receive rig. It costs as much as an FTDX101D, in fact, slightly more, and still is not a simultaneous dual receive. But it is, again, it is a fun radio to play. Absolutely fun to play. DNR is not the best. And it's got a little noisy hiss from the audio receiver, audio amplifier. But other than that, it's a great radio. Jonathan, you said the opposite of me. I don't know what that was in reference to because I'm just now getting down to that comment. So maybe put that out there again. Well, John, I appreciate that you're grateful. So pleased to have you here doing what you do best. Best wishes. All right, 73 to you there, John. I know it's late over there across the big pond. You like the live stuff? Yeah, I'm going to try to do this a little more often. One of the Patreon members, Dave, suggested this today. I did one last week with the FTX1. My IC7300 FTDX10 are set up like you suggested in your videos. Very, very good there in NC Photos. Yeah, I showed in one of the 7300 videos that you can fake the contour filter. It doesn't have contour APF, but you can fake it using your just putting your noise blanker on wide mode in that 7300, and you get a similar effect to the contour filter in the Yaesus. Man, I love contour and APF. I probably even like contour more than APF. Oh yeah, Jonathan. Yeah, selective. I'm yeah. I know you buy them all, don't you? Well, I don't have money to burn, and I have to be very, very careful. My first 2 HF rigs that I had were entry-level radios. But by the way, though, never owned a beam tower, and have worked the world with these wire antennas. And even with entry-level radios, I didn't really get a great radio until I got the 5000 in 2019. And so the shame of it is I'm getting old. So I don't. You younger guys, you got incredible radios available to you now, and you can spend your entire ham career with phenomenal ears, as we say, being able to hear so well. W2CSI. That's a cool call sign there. All right. Well, anything else? Been on here a while. Got one QSO in the bag there at the beginning of the video. Hope you guys could hear him okay. That was Sean. He's one of the Patreon team members as well. I put out an alert to them, and that's what I'm going to do when I do these. I'll put out an alert in the chat group, which every Patreon member can see. And, but now I can't give you a lot of heads up because many of you know, I'm dealing with my wife's health. And so I can only do this when there's somebody that can help her. Okay, John B., what's your thoughts on digital voice modes? I wish they would include a digital voice mode on each of the current HF transceivers. I think we shouldn't be limited to just analog. Yeah, I don't care for digital, to be honest with you, John. I just don't like that weird sound. As a matter of fact, so many of you know I used to work with the Motorola organization, and I was with a friend of mine recently. He's a ham operator. He's a cop. And, man, all the new cop radios, we used to install those. That digital just turns me off. I just don't like the way it sounds. I've got a D-Star radio in my, I took it out of the truck to put in the FTM 500. In fact, I donated that Icon that had D-Star. Man, I got it for D-Star, and the newness wore off, and I never touched D-Star again for years. So, yeah, I'm not the best one to ask about digital voice. I'm just no fan of it, any of it. C4FM, none of that. I'm old school on that, man. Let me put it to you this way. I'm also not a big FT8 fan. Now, I've written the guides for my Patreon team members so they can get on FT8. I wanted to clear it because I saw all the confusion that was out there about it. I spent 4 months digging deep and writing those guides for specific radios to try to help them get on the air quick, because you could learn. One guy would tell you the right thing here, but the wrong thing there. Next guy would tell you the right thing there and the wrong thing here. So I wanted to get through to all, get all that sorted out. But FT8's not my thing either. I want to be able, SOTA kind of inspired me with this. I want a radio set up where I can go anywhere, anytime, operate off solar power or a battery, and communicate around the world. And the best mode for that is CW. No computer needed. Second would be sideband. And so those are the things I really sink my teeth in and enjoy. Yeah, you're welcome, Scott. ICOM includes D-Star, HF. Yeah, they do. And of course, the 991 and this FTX1, they can do C4FM. Do I like CW decoder in the FTDX10? I haven't found well, let me back up a second. The CW decoders need to have a nice, clear signal. So if the signal's down in the weeds, and most of the ones I'm working are because I'm chasing guys that are running 5 watts over 2,000 miles away, decoder's not going to help you a lot there. If they're good and strong, yeah, the decoder's okay. Even the Kenwood, I think I've got a video coming with showing the decoder and it working, but it's the same thing. You're going to need to, well, put it this way. If you do what I said in the beginning of this video, take care of that noise in the front end as much as you can. Let the the DSP handle the rest. Clean that signal up, and then let the decoder go at it. I will tell you one thing about this TS-890S that hasn't, I mean, I'm sure I think I've shot the video, but man, I got so much in the edit queue. If the notch filter is turned on, the decoder doesn't work so well. You have to leave the notch filter turned off. So if you're a guy that can do CW without a CW decoder, guy or gal, then you're going to, because you know me, I like to use the notch filter, the notch trick, I call it, to get rid of that ringing. Because again, I'm trying to work somebody running 5 watts or even less over 2,000 miles away. I don't want the filter ringing to make me not be able to pull them out. I call them ghost stations. Actually, my friend Joel calls them ghost stations. My friend Ariel said, Doug, you're listening to people who are barely above imaginary. Well, the notch trick works better on the Yaesus. I will tell you that, by the way. And when I say Yaesus, it even works better on the 10, 710, and 101 than it does on the FTX1. I'm sorry to tell you that, but it does. But it does work on the FTX1. Don't get me wrong, just slightly better on the other rigs. On the Kenwood, it works, but the decoder can't decode. So if I'm doing it by ear, then I'll use the notch trick. That's more important to me, trying to pull out a station that is barely above imaginary, than being able to decode. But if you're just getting started with CW, I would say, you want to pick out a good, strong signal to listen to and use that, and maybe even have a QSO, use it like training wheels. One that, a good and strong that it can decode well. And then that way you got to kind of you got to back up in case you miss something that they said. Because, sending is easier than copying for most people. Now, that said, the 890 probably is a little bit better at decoding than the FTDX10 or the 101 is, from what I've seen, but none of them are perfect. You got to get a good, quiet, strong the signal's got to be enough out of the noise floor that it can pick it up good. Otherwise, you get a lot of E's, I guess means error. And the Yaesu does it as well. The one thing you got to know about the Yaesu that I don't seem to have to do with the Kenwood yet, you've got to set your sending speed. Yes, sending speed somewhere near plus or minus, I'm just going to throw a number at you, plus or minus about 5 words per minute of what you think you're listening to. Yeah. Your sending speed, the radio is going to use your the sending speed that you set to give it an idea of what speed it's supposed to be decoding. So, if you're set to send at 10 and somebody's sending at 20, it's probably not going to decode them. Or if you're set to send at 20 and somebody's sending at 10, probably not going to decode them. That's the main thing you got to know about the FTDX10 and FTDX101's CW decoder. I've seen a lot of the press out there, negative, press. It works, but look, I encourage you, if you've not heard me say this before, sign up for the Long Island CW Club, and they will teach you how to do head copy. You're going to not want to be writing down letters and numbers and then look at it later and try to figure out what somebody sent. You will actually begin to recognize entire words and phrases, and that's the best way to do CW. They'll teach you how to do it by ear, and then you won't have to worry about a decoder. All right, so let's go ahead and close it down then. I don't see any more questions. Thanks, guys, for jumping in on this live cast. I don't know if I'll do it every time, but maybe start out with a QSO on the air, maybe a different radio each time. Last week it was the FTX1. Today it was the 890S. Thanks again for joining. And this is N4H&H. I'm going to say 73 to you. Thank you so much to I have Long Island CW. Yeah, you're right, NC Photos, about the Long Island CW Club. Thanks, guys, and especially thanks to you Patreon team members who are long haulers. Literally, you have no idea how important you are. Some of you long haulers have, people join for a month or 2 or 3 or 4, and then they drop out. That will not sustain the work here. So you guys mean a whole lot to me. Thank you so much. Jonathan, Dave, John, let's see, did I miss somebody? I know I think I missed 1 or 2, but you guys, yeah, I'm just scanning back here trying to see. I think that might be all, but you guys mean the world, man. Thanks so much. All right, you guys, I will say 73 to you. Again, thanks for agreeing the need to improve the digital voice. As you say, QRM grind can become. Yeah, I mean, I've just got so used to DNR that it spoiled me. And so you like the QSOs ahead of time? Cool. All right. Well, I'll try to give you guys as much notice as I can when my wife is situated. She's not only dealing, just getting over all the stuff she went through with pancreatic tumor, but also she got first of 2 knee surgeries going on. And but anyway, yeah, I'll try to get in here as often as I can and do this. I've still got a backlog of videos to edit too. And those of you who are S9 members who subscribe annually, I answer your questions. You guys have no idea. I spend a good bit of the time during the day answering questions via the Patreon Messenger or even Zoom sessions. So, you guys can have the access to get on a Zoom call, and you can show me your radio, show me what you're struggling with, that kind of thing. That's for the annual S9 members, of course. And Craig, yeah, well, we'd welcome you to the team. And you S9 members, we have about every quarter or so, we'll do a Zoom meeting and get in there and talk about whatever. Sometimes we have a subject, and we usually end up with some elbowing session. All right, thanks again, guys. 73 from N4HNH, not 4.